Some of these questions were already answered. I think the call to action is how can we support your Asian Student Union groups in Marin? I know you're forming, you're connecting, but you have a very big audience here. What's the call to action ask for us to support y'all?
I think that the call to action, how can we get support? In terms of that, I feel like, especially at my school, I like to talk to my principal, and also I like to talk to my students, my friends, and my classmates. That like the club it's inclusive, so everyone can be participating in it. And so it's not just Asians, and I think that being open to everyone is one key aspect that we can all come together. Having more people and more views and more perspectives on how they have dealt with certain aspects and getting different views from different students is how, especially in my club, we kind of get a fundamental of like different views and how we've lived in Marin most of our lives and how we kind of want to make change. And so I feel like that starts up in the club and then it will probably go up higher the ranks.
Yeah, so in terms of support, we're always looking for guest speakers and people who are willing to come in and teach like a class or like some sort of like cultural activity. So definitely we can attach our Gmail account or handle somewhere at taralinda.asu@gmail.com.
I will even do you one solid. Thanks to all of you registering tonight. We will have a summary wrap up and a clip of this video for tonight's evening all sent back to you. If you email us at AAAM@gmail.com, we will be happy to connect you directly with not only our students, but also Sally and AAAM overall. How about that? All right.
We also have an Instagram. If you have Instagram, at taralinda.asu.
Asia is a big place. We talked about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. I know that's a really long acronym, but I think it's so important to acknowledge our indigenous peoples. May has been acknowledged as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month, but in the work that we're doing, we tend to, and your stories actually are very similar. In 1997, when Mulan came out, I was like, I don't care if she's a Chinese heroine and a doll, I'm going to have this. She is going to be my role model. Connie Chung is going to be my role model. I see her on TV. I'm not a newscaster. They're my role models. How do we bring in others that may not be, necessarily from well-known Asian countries like Japan and Korea? What about our South Asian brothers and sisters, our other Pacific Islanders? Is there work in connection, and this is also open up to the entire panel, like how do we connect with everybody in our NHPI community?
I mean, at least on a smaller scale in Terra Linda High School, we do try to represent as many cultures as we can in our Asian American Pacific Islander Club. So in our student union, we have students from all different backgrounds. We have Chinese, we have Japanese, we have Filipino, we have Fijian. And so during our Culture Day event, we host a Culture Day event at the end of during AAPI month, and we've done this for 2 years now at Terra Linda High School, and it's just like a lunch event for Terra Linda High School community. So typically we have around 6 tables representing 6 different countries, so people who are passing by during lunch and come down to our activities can learn about these different cultures. Like last year I think we had China, we had Taiwan, we had Fiji, we had India, we had Vietnam, Korea.
Especially in my club, we are diverse, I guess. I have 2 members that are Filipino. One of my friends there is Filipino. He grew up in the East Bay and he kind of have a different view and experience in his early ages. And one topic we came up was like how were we affected by racism and how different aspects of society, and he actually opened up to me, and I did not know this. Like before this club, I did not know his experience, but he actually opened up about his experience living in the East Bay and how I came to understand that like that was very different from my experience. And my importance in how we can like come together is with our different backgrounds is that I like to reach out as a senior to incoming freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, even though their background might be different from mine, and just like ask them to come to my club and like just hop in and get the feel of how my club runs, and that's one thing I like to do.
Can I do a nerd thing?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna do a nerd thing. Teach Haunani Craig Trask in the sovereignty movement in Hawaii. Teach Bolathon, a Filipino writer that changed the way we looked at America. Watch movies and videos and bring them into your classrooms from Taika Waititi. And find those voices every time you sit in a room. Look around, figure out who's not there. And if you can't bring that person in, find something from that group and bring that within the space. And it's not just, I love cultural things, those are wonderful. But oftentimes I think it's only our dance, or it's only our art forms, and it's not our voices, it's not our resistance, it is not our history, it is not our voices that get heard. So whenever you're in that moment, open it up, bring it in, and say, hey, I got an idea, let's listen to it.
I appreciate you saying that. You know, October is Filipino American History Month, and it's always noted as Filipino American Heritage Month. And I stand up and I say, no, 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 no. It is Filipino American History Month. We are more than just dances and culture. We celebrate Larry Itliong Day in October. When Cesar Chavez Day gets celebrated in March, right there along with them, I'm talking about Larry Itliong. But it saddens me that it took me many years until my 30s to really own and know that, but best believe I'm not keeping that to myself. And that's the movement that is happening here. There are two small personal questions that are going to be quickly addressed, and I want to be able to ask that, and then a larger question for all, okay? And those are the last questions before we transition to our community announcements. One is, specifically for you, Sally, does the Sandy Hook Promise petition to Congress have enough signatures yet?
I would argue that it never has enough signatures. I would argue that it never has enough voices. I would argue that every voice that can come forward and push for safer schools for every child. I did not grow up having shooter drills as a child. I, as a teacher, never had to make a choice of whether or not I put a kid in a cabinet. This happened to me when I was teaching this. There was an active shooter warning. It was a real one. It wasn't it was not a drill. I had a disabled student and I had able students. I had one closet. As a teacher, I had to decide who I put in the closet. That is not a decision teachers should have to be. And that is not a thing that children should have to sit through and wonder whether or not they're safe in school. They should wonder about what's for lunch. They should wonder about, will I do well on my algebra test? They should be thinking about, hey, I really like The Great Gatsby. I can't wait for the discussion period. Every signature that you do, every moment that you take to push back and say that I want our children to be safe is the beneficial to not just Sandy Hook Promise, but to all children in America.
And what is Miss Cantel Sacre doing these days? Well, that I do know, and she's also Filipina. I didn't know if anyone, was that just a general question that you had?
Yes, she retired.
I can share on the Filipino-American front, because I'm involved in that, is that she's still teaching specifically on the lens of being the justice system through a Filipino-American space. But I'm happy to connect you with folks about her teaching circuit. I can actually.
She's also at San Francisco State. She's done some guest speaking there, and she's been very, very outspoken about the nature of state courts, because that's going to become more and more important as time goes on.
Great question, I love this. I love how this is an interactive ethnic studies course.
I know.
Tonight. All right, maybe we should do this more often, maybe as one of our future events, I'm looking at our president. All right, so here's the big question. How many know or have visited, I'm actually gonna ask everybody, raise your hand. How many know or have visited the Angel Island Immigration Station? Okay, right. Over. Okay, well, which was built to enforce the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 to 1943. What's exciting though is, did you know that AAAM has been hosting in partnership with community members and different organizations, curated trips with our national park system. So if this is something of interest to you, please reach out to us. We host these trips at least once a year, but we're really hoping to like host it in partnership with, say, at Marin County, Marin, the largest employer of 2,000 employees. They have a Marin Asian Public Local Employees Asian Affinity Group there. And so we've done in partnership some of those trips. So if you're interested in partnering with us, please let us know. With that, it is my, oh yes, Alicia Lowe.
Your generation and us have all become very visually attuned to getting our attention. And there, I was so happy to hear that you have developed some of your own little videos, but there are many available documentaries, shorts to generate and bring in people, all the different groups that you talk about. There's a documentary about Larry Islam, there's all these very short ones even, 2-minute videos about the Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation has produced that talks about how there are 50 different Asian groups who speak over 100 languages. Some of these things we don't even know ourselves, so to share that kind of information. But I'd be very happy to talk with any of you about thinking about how you might use the visual medium to start the conversation. Because usually it's hard to just sit and say, okay, this is the topic. Start with something and grab people's attention.
After the award-winning documentarian of history. At this point in time, I would love to introduce to you, because of that Marin Community Foundation grant, our new Asian American Alliance of Marin Program Director who is leading the AAPI youth work, Brittany Bernard, to lead us through our community panels. Please thank our panelists. Thank you so much for a round of applause. Thank you.